Okay, so before I get started on today's topic, do we all agree or not agree that there's potentially a little bit of changes coming to the marketplace? Does everyone agree? Everyone agrees on that? Okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily widespread, okay, or like a massive thing, but I think there probably will be a little bit. In some marketplaces, there's already a little bit. You know, some marketplaces have gone from 15 offers to 5, 30 showings to 12. And some marketplaces, it hasn't been an impact at all. But as we move forward and there is potentially a little bit of a change in the market, we have to look at something very, very important. I want everyone to write this down. Okay, if you haven't got your pen and paper ready or your little notepad or whatever the case may be, as the market starts to potentially change a little bit, you have to look at your profit and loss statement. This is really, really important. Really, really important that you have to look at that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, you should always be looking at your profit and loss statement, but I'm not dumb. I'm not smart, but I'm not dumb either. And I know that most salespeople, not just real estate people, most salespeople don't operate off a profit and loss statement, number one. And those that have a profit and loss statement don't really analyze it very much. But as the market might be changing, you really need to start analyzing your profit and loss statement. So what I wrote down here, though, is there are some things as you go through your profit and loss statement that you need to cut. And some things, though, that you might think you need to cut that I would actually suggest you double down on. Because while the market might change a little bit, and the expectation is that there's less closings going to happen in 2022 compared to 2021. So it's another reason to always look at your profit and loss statement. When things get tougher, what also tends to happen in the industry? What tends to happen to real estate agents when things get tougher?
Drop out.
They drop out. They drop out. Right. They drop out 100%. So while the market might change a little bit, it might be a little bit tougher in some categories and there might be less transactions, there's also a great opportunity for tremendous growth. So that's why we're going to talk about some things that as you run through your profit and loss statement, there are some things I wrote down that you need to double down on, or at least not cut. Because some people, they get too dramatic and they say, we're cutting everything. Well, no, there's still an opportunity for tremendous growth here. So there's some things that I would double down on the cost or double down on what you're utilizing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What you need to cut, what you need to double down on your profit and loss statement, on your business as we move forward in this potentially changing market. So let's dive into this. So what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about what to cut or what to double down on? Gustavo says cut. So we're going to talk about what to cut. All right. See, look, I could be democratic at times. Now, everybody listen up. Going from democratic to dictatorship, just like that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I wrote down here a list of items that we need to cut, and then we'll get into the items that you need to double down. If you have any questions on, Robert, why would I cut this? Why would I double down on this? Or what about this? Please unmute yourself, put it in the chat box, whatever the case may be. All right, this is for open dialogue because some of the things that I'm going to mention you might not agree with. All right. Some of the things you might already be cutting, some of the things you might already be double down on. Some of these things you might not be using at all anyways. So you don't know whether to cut or double down on it. So let's jump into this. Here's the things that I wrote down that you need to cut as the market potentially looks to change. I wrote down number one, You need to cut any buyer marketing. You need to cut any buyer marketing. So over the last 2 years, what happened what did interest rates do April 2020? What happened to interest rates in April 2020?
They dropped.
Went down.
This is more fun if you participate. Okay. They dropped. They were historic lows, 2%, 2.25, 2.5. I mean, they were crazy for an extended period of time. Realistically, even now, they're still low. I know we look at 5% and we think it's crazy. Okay, but I mean, historically still low. But 2.25, so it was a tremendous opportunity for buyers because you were never going to get rates this low ever again, maybe. Okay. And they've never been this low before. So let's get these buyers. And buyers did come out of the woodworks to take advantage of these interest rates. Now, here's the thing. We did get a lot of buyers into escrow, a lot of buyers not. Is the increase in interest rates, is that going to affect the number of buyers?
Yes.
Yes, it's going to affect the number of buyers, correct. And is it easy to get a buyer into escrow?
No.
No, it's not easy. So during the last couple of years, we could do a lot of buyer marketing because the interest rates were so low. We were trying to get all these buyers to go get property now. Well, now the interest rates are higher. So you had a lot of buyers that already bought. Now here's the problem. A buyer bought a house at 2.5% interest rate. Do you think they're in a rush to get rid of that property and move up to something bigger?
No.
Hell no. They got in at 2.5 and now it's like, well, we can get something bigger, but at 5.25. They're not in a rush to get out. So now you have a lot of buyers that are already locked in at the lower rates. The interest rates have gone up. You've got some buyers now out of the marketplace. It's hard to get buyers into escrow. We need to cut the buyer marketing. So the buyer marketing could be, are you doing any advertisements on social media? Are you doing any postcards? Are you doing any flyers? Anything that's geared towards buyers. Here's another buyer marketing, buying buyer leads. Okay. Because one of the big things that happened over the last couple of years is we were buying leads because the rates were so low. We're like, gosh, I just got to get more people involved. It's even harder now for buyers because of the rate. So you have to look at those buyer leads that you're buying. So what I would write down here as the first thing you need to cut as the market changes is any money you're putting towards buyer marketing. Because of the rates increasing, because of how difficult it is to work with buyers, we need to cut whatever money is being spent on the buyer marketing side. The second thing I wrote down that we need to cut, marketing sources with low return. Marketing sources with low return. So here's what I mean. Number one, you need to track all of the marketing that you're doing and figure out what is working and what's not working and cut anything with a low return. As the market changes, you do not want to be in the I'm just going to try something out phase. Well, Robert, I'm spending money on this. It's not working, but I want to keep spending money on it. Okay. In the last couple years, with prices going up and all the transactions, if it didn't work in that, and there's less transactions this year, what are the chances that it's going to work now? Does that make sense? If it didn't work the last couple years, if you look at this and you say, well, I've spent money the last couple years on this marketing source, I haven't gotten anything. Okay, great. You didn't get anything when their number of transactions were here. So now the number of transactions is going to drop a little bit and you're expecting it to all of a sudden pan out. This is not the type of market that you try stuff out. So you need to figure out what marketing sources are not producing a return and cut those immediately. Now that could be, again, postcards, could be flyers, could be postcards to a certain area. Could be marketing to a certain area. Let me give you another example. Okay. Do you belong to any networking groups that are not producing anything? I've probably shared this story with you maybe a couple different times. Years ago, I was in a networking group called BNI. Now, this is not a shot at BNI because some people are in BNI and they score big on it. I was in a BNI group, and as you can imagine, I was pretty involved. I'm a talker. So I was networking with everybody. And BNI is a type of group you have to pay a fee to join BNI, and then you meet for lunch. So you're paying for lunch every week, right? And then it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, when you talk about the travel and actually things like that. So 6 months into this, I've networked with everybody. I've done one-on-ones with everybody in the group. I've paid the fee to get in. I'm paying for lunch every single week. It's 15 minutes to and from the office. So it's it's an hour and a half lunch plus the travel time. I mean, it's a whole thing. And after 6 months, I didn't have a lead. Forget a closing. I didn't have a lead. And I'm in this for, if you count my hourly rate, I'm in this for a couple grand, including the money and the hourly rate. Had to cut my ties. I got to use that time for something else. So what marketing sources are you using that aren't working, that are getting a low return, and cut them? Get rid of them. Move on from them. But you have to figure out.
Robert,
Yes.
did they change the name to BS Club then?
Did they what?
Did they change the name to BS Club? Because it didn't work.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It was BS Club. There you go. I like it. Good job, Irish. Yes, it did. So marketing sources will return. You got to cut those, cut them out. The third thing I wrote down here, very similar, that you need to cut: prospecting sources with low return. Prospecting sources with low return. Same concept. If your prospecting source did not generate any business when there was more transactions, how do you expect that source to generate business when there's going to be less transactions? Okay. Basic economics says that doesn't make any sense. So you need to track your prospecting sources with the low return and cut those. Now, there may be a cost associated with that. There may not be. But if you've been spending the last couple of years getting all the for sale by owner phone numbers and information, and you've been prospecting them, and you haven't generated a deal with for sale by owners in the last couple of years, why are you still spending the money on it? Okay, well, I'm buying this kind of prospecting leads. I'm doing this and I'm not getting any return on it. Then you have to cut those sources. Again, this is there's going to be less transactions. This is not the type of market, if a changing market comes up, where it's well, let's just try it out. No. Changing market means you have to go with what is tried and true and works. If you have a prospecting source with a low return, cut it. Cut it out of your system, cut the cost, get rid of it. Let me pause here for a second because I want to make sure this is making sense. Am I making sense when I say if it didn't work when there was more transactions, why is it going to work when there's less transactions? Does everybody understand that concept? If
Yes.
this is not, don't let your ego get in the way. If you don't understand, let me know. Okay, because that's a really important point to this whole process. I wrote down here the next thing you need to cut. All right, I got 6 items here. So there's number 4 that you need to cut. Expensive systems. Expensive systems, such as you're paying $300, $400, $500 a month for a CRM. You're paying a couple $100 a month for a personal website. Things along those lines. You need to cut those. Here's why. In today's world, can you get CRMs at no additional cost? Yes. If you work for Century 21, you get one at Business Builder. If you belong to the MLS, you get one at Lion's Desk. Now, you don't have to answer this question, but here's to be honest with yourself. If you are spending $300, $400, $500 a month on a CRM, are you utilizing all the tools that come with it? Now, again, you don't have to answer that. Be honest with yourself. But the answer is going to be predominantly no. I'm not using the tools worthy of paying $300, $400, $500 a month that I could get with Lion's Desk, Business Builder, something like that. at no additional cost, or $50 a month or something like that. These expensive CRMs, you're not utilizing all the services. And don't do this. Well, you know what, Robert? I'm going to start utilizing them now. No, you're not. Okay. This is one of those moments where people get upset with me and go, gosh, she's being mean right now. No, I'm not. I'm just trying. Somebody's got to be honest. You're not going to use them. So you have access to something that can save you a few $100s a month. Utilize those instead of the CRMs are $300, $400, $500 a month that you're not getting all the stuff with. A website. Okay. Now, if you're with Century 21, you get a website as part of your gig, and our concierge team will help you customize it and make it look really pretty. I can't do that. I don't have that skill, but our concierge team does. You have to pay for the domain. So that looks really nice. Or you could create a basic website builder, Wix, something like that for not that much money a month. But I see some people, I look at their profit and loss statement and it's, well, my website is $250 a month, $300 a month. Nobody here is running an e-commerce site where people are going to your website to purchase things where you need it. Nobody here is, some massive influencer that I'm aware of that you need this really custom management system that you need $200, $300, $400 a month for your website. It's crazy. Get with the concierge team, say, hey, I really want to make my website pop, and they'll help you create the custom website that comes with Century 21. You have to buy the domain. It's no additional cost. We're spending too much money on things that we're not getting the value out of. Okay, when there's other sources that you can do things at no additional cost. So look at the systems that you're paying for, whether it be a CRM, a website, or anything else like that, and get rid of the ones that are just expensive, because there's alternative options that are either no additional cost or minimum cost. Okay, for what you're getting out of those systems. So take a look at all those. I wrote down here next on cutting. Cut any personal marketing. Now, I'll dive into this in a second. Cut personal marketing. Personal marketing means that you're not doing any marketing about a property or anything like that. You're just marketing yourself. For those of you that dabble in the social media world, does any agent ever say that they're in the bottom 50% nationally? Does any agent post on their website that I've never done a transaction before in my life? No. Does any agent post that out of 140 agents in the office, they're ranked number 80? No. Nobody ever posts that stuff on social media. So the personal marketing that people post on social media, what do they post? They post,
I'm the number one.
I'm number one. I'm number one. Everybody's personal marketing is I'm number one, which is, I still to this day have not quite figured out why nobody gets in trouble for doing that. I mean, how can everybody be number one? Like there's no regulations on personal marketing, which is why spending money on personal marketing doesn't seem to make sense, because you're never going to out personal market the competition. Because you could be number one. You might actually be the number one producing agent in your town. But guess what? There's 50 other agents in that town that are also number one to some capacity. So how are you going to personal market that? I'm number one. I'm the best. I have the experience. Well, everybody's got experience. I'm a local agent. Yeah, because there's no one else that has a real estate license in the neighborhood. So you spend money on the personal marketing when you're competing against a bunch of people also doing personal marketing, and all their personal marketing says they're the best. So all you're spending money on is to just be amongst the crowd. Cut the personal marketing. Whatever money you're spending on the personal marketing, it's probably not working. Okay, because everyone is the best. Does that make sense? Okay, you're spending money on personal marketing, but how can you do that? everyone's better. So really, it just comes down to, well, who's got more followers? Because whoever has the most followers, then apparently those people think that they're the best. Okay. So the personal marketing is not getting you anywhere because there's no regulations that everyone's the best. We did this. I was laughing the other day, right? I joked about this, but it's the funniest thing. We do this in recruiting. And, you know, we go to this management retreat. And so Mike says, you know, well, does your company do this? Does your company do this? And everyone raises their hand. Oh, we do coaching. Oh, yeah, we do Zoom. Oh, we do this. We do this. We do this. Right. And I'm laughing. I'm going, you know, all these freaking brokers and managers, they come up to Neil all the time and say, God, Neil, you're the best. How do you do all this? How do you do all that? Right. They praise him all the time. But then when Mike asks, oh, yeah, we do that too. I'm like, how could you tell him he's the best if you're doing the exact same thing? Liar. Okay. But it's the same thing in the brokerage world, right? Everyone, oh, we do coaching. No, you don't. Oh, we do training. When? How? So you can't do the personal marketing because everyone's the best. So whatever money you're spending to personal marketing, personal branding, you're probably not getting a great return on it. The last thing I put, yes.
I just want to ask you, so then what do you think about video? The other day, you guys invite somebody to talk about TikTok, and then I see Melinda and Jennifer doing video. Is that okay to do videos?
Yeah, you're doing video as long as you're talking about something of value, or what we're going to talk about here on Double Down on, if you're promoting something like a listing or something like that. What I'm talking about is the branding that says, the personal marketing that says, I'm the #1 agent in town. I'm an experienced agent in town. If you know anyone, give me a call. You know, I can do this, I can do that. That's personal marketing. That's not getting anything. If you're doing a video or something like that, where you're talking about a topic, like Melinda does a lot of videos on, you know, how's the interest rates affecting this? What's going on with this proposition? That's different. Or if you're promoting a listing, if you're promoting a sale, that's different. So that's all fine. It's more about the personal marketing, about I'm #1. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I wanted to shut my door. Otherwise, you're going to hear a bunch of gardening work. All right. So that's what I'm talking about, the personal marketing. All right. The last thing I wrote down here on stuff that you need to cut is, I just put this as a very, very basic comment. It says stuff you're not using. Stuff you're not using. So I had a couple weeks ago, I was at Mark and Al's office, and maybe it was a couple months ago. Anyways, I was talking with Al about some software and things like that, and we were looking at upgrading a few things. And I said, well, what else are you using? So he was going over, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. They've got all these systems in place. And I said, are you using all that stuff? And Robert Kofer goes, no, before Al could even answer, because he knew Al was going to try to explain it to me, that there was something of value here. And Robert Kofer, no, we're not. So I said, well, let's do a line by line item. What are you using and what are you not using? Because they've been using some of the same systems that they've been successful for a long time, but they've been using some of the same systems for a long time that they haven't changed or updated or reviewed if they still need this stuff. So just by doing that, there was a few items they were able to cut out, saved them some money. So as we go into a changing market, when you're looking at your profit and loss statement, take a look at what are some things that you're paying for that you're not using. So look at what I would challenge everyone to do is look at your bank statements and see what's on auto pay. Could be $12 a month, could be whatever the case may be. What's on auto pay? What is this payment? What is that? Do I need that? Am I even utilizing this? You know, I paid for this service and I haven't used it in 6 months, or I've only used it once. You know, I'm paying for this. Figure out what you're not using and get rid of that stuff. Again, don't fall into that category of, oh, well, you know what? I've been paying for this for 6 months. I haven't used it. I need to start using it so I get money out of it. Cut your losses. Cut your losses. Because if you haven't used it for 6 months, you're probably not going to start using it now just because you've remembered what it is. So figure out the stuff that you're not using, whatever those are, and cut them. So go do a really deep dive into your automatic payments, the systems, things like that. I'll bet there's a few things in there that you're paying for that you don't even realize. Questions on the stuff that you need to cut out of your business? Okay.
Yeah, question for you, but I don't know if it's about cut. Let me ask you this real quick. Would you say there is how can I put this, a baseline for a dollar amount that you could expect on an ROI? For instance, if I spend $1, I should expect, let's just say 5 in return for every $1 that I'm spending to justify the money that we are spending.
No, it's a good question. I understand the question. No, I don't think there's a baseline for it. Everyone's different. And it also, here's the hardest part about return on investment when it comes to real estate is that one transaction, the commission can be so high that it makes that return on investment seem really high. So it depends on the area you work. It depends on a variety of different things. So what I would venture to say, though, is to your point, Tyrone, and this is for everyone, when you're looking at return on investment, one of the biggest things that you have to calculate on return on investment is not the gross, but the net. So let me give you an example. You know, somebody might say, well, look, I spent $5,000, but it got me a deal, and that deal got me $10,000. So therefore, I doubled my money. My return on investment was 2 to 1. Well, no, that's the gross. Well, let's take out your split and taxes, because what you spend in marketing is true money. Okay, that's what's your out-of-pocket money. Therefore, your return on investment has to be what is your in-pocket money. So I take away my split and then I pay my taxes. So that $10,000 turns into $6,000. So really I spent $5,000 and got $6,000 in return. Now, everyone's different in terms of how they want to do their investments. So you might say, well, great, I turned a profit. And other people might go, well, for $5,000 to only get $6,000, that's not worth it to me. So that's why there's no baseline, because everyone might have a different idea of what a successful return on investment is. Me personally would have to be 2 to 1 net. Meaning that if I spent $5,000 on postcard flyers, I would need to, in that time frame, have gotten at least $10,000 net to me in that particular realm for me to do that. So that's my personal thing. But you also have to look at the time and effort amounted to it. So postcards aren't really much time and effort, because someone can just create a template and I can send those out. That's not a big deal. But let's say a prospecting source. Well, I've been prospecting for sale by owners. I bought the for sale by owner phone numbers and I've been prospecting them, and it costs me $2,000 a year to get the for sale by owner numbers. I closed a deal. My net on it was $6,000. So that's 3 to 1. Well, maybe. How much time did you prospect for sale by owners? Well, I prospected 60 hours. Okay. Now for me, if I prospected 60 hours on one particular source and I only got one deal out of it, that would not be a high return on investment. That's me. So there's a few different layers to it.
Robert, would you agree that sometimes you don't see it immediately? You may see it, a year after, or maybe 6 months after. So it would be hard to
most marketing, you won't see it. You have to do any marketing for at least 6 months. More likely, it's probably closer to a year, to Abigail's point.
Yes.
So all this stuff I'm talking about is things that you've been doing for more than 6 months, more than a year, and you haven't seen any return on, this is not the type of market where you just keep trying. It's now cut it. It's not working. It didn't work when there was more business. It's not going to work now when there's less. Yes, you do have to give any sort of marketing pieces time. Okay, so Tyrone, that was probably a very complicated answer, but hopefully I gave you some light on that particular scenario.
Hey, Robert, also, if you compare a little bit like before, just to get a listing, people were getting pictures just with the iPhone, but now with the requirements and the way you're competing, just to get a listing, sometimes picture can cost you $500 to $700 if you need to do videos and all that stuff. That before we were not doing that, and that you gotta put them into the budget now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. So that's the cut. So let's get into, that's the stuff you need to cut. Let's get into the stuff you need to double down. So to Michael's point, I wrote down, what do you need to double down on? Professional photos and number of photos. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for leading me right into that. We'll be here all week. Professional photos and number of photos. And it's not, but here's the important thing. Doubling down on professional photos and quality of photos is not really to the point of, you know, the regulations or things like that. Why is that? Why do you think you should double down on that? Why do I think that's so important?
Because all the buyers are shopping on the internet first, and if you don't have good pictures, they are just going to click past you.
Yep, that's number one. And then there's a second reason too.
It reflects how you do business.
There it is. Both of you are correct. It's the buyers are looking online. So your photos will determine if the buyers, how excited they are to go see that property, and it reflects how you do business. And in a market when things can be a little bit tighter, you need to be able to expose yourself in a positive way to the most amount of people possible. Now, we think, well, the property is going to sell in 7 days. Why should I spend the $500 on photos, whatever the case may be? Because every neighbor is looking online at that listing. And so when you call them and do a just listed call and you have shitty iPhone photos, sorry, just being honest, they're going to go, oh, you're the guy that make my neighbor's house look like crap. Yeah, well, I'll list with you. Most amazing thing I ever understood is people that take iPhone photos and then call just listeds. Why would the neighbor list with you if that's the value of what you're treating the neighbor's house as? Why would you then post it online? Hey, look at my new listing and my crappy photos. Look how great I am as an agent. You want me to list your house? No, thank you. Double down, put the professional photos on there. Well, it's $500 and it's going to sell in a week. I know. So what? Spend the money. Get the professional photos and get a lot of photos. There's a listing in my neighborhood. It's the street over from mine. And, you know, we're like every other homeowner. We check to see, hey, what's going on? Photo. One. What are we doing? And it'll probably sell because it is priced relatively decently. But I'm looking at that going, and my wife, Amber, goes, is that normal? I said, yeah, for crappy agents, that's very normal. We can't do that. Double down on the professional photos and the number of photos. It is reflective of how you do business. Okay, if you want more leads, here's what I want you to write down. Every listing you get needs to generate another deal. Every listing you get needs to generate another deal. So your mindset has to be, I've got the listing. The listing's going to sell. I already know that. I need to generate another deal from this, which means I need to be professional on the photos. I need the property to look great online. I need the whole thing. The best marketing you can do in a changing market is leverage your listings for another one. That starts with professional photos, numbers, and photos. I wrote down here next, double down on the kind of the same concept is your listing marketing. So I told you the personal marketing to cut. What you need to double down on is your listing marketing or buyer sale marketing. So you have a listing, you're doing open houses, you're doing just listed calls, you're doing social media posts about your listing. Whether it's just listed, it just went into escrow, it just closed. You have a buyer just closed, you're doubling down on that marketing because again, you need to promote the fact people don't need another real estate agent. They need a real estate salesperson. They can find real estate agents everywhere that claim they're number one. They want to work with the one that actually has got something going on. So double down on the marketing of your successes, your listings, your escrows, things like that, right? Double down on that marketing stuff. If you're going to pay for social media ads, pay for it on that. Don't pay for a social media ad that says I'm number one. It's a waste of money. Just give it to me. Give me the money. I'll do better with it. Okay. I'll get you a higher return. But double down on the listing marketing, success marketing. Here's a dirty little secret. Here's a dirty little secret about your database. There are some people in your database that don't know you're a real estate agent. Okay. That's just the truth. But here's what's even worse. There are some people in your database that know you're a real estate agent, but don't know if you're any good. And that's why they don't refer you business. So they have a friend, they have someone that's looking for a real estate agent, but they think to themselves, well, I don't know if Robert's any good. And I don't really want to put my name on the line for an $800,000 transaction to send to Robert. I don't know if Robert knows what the hell he's doing. So how do I change that? I show them my success. I talk about my success. If you want to get more business from your database, you have to promote your success to them because there are a number of them that don't know if you're any good at your job. And they don't want to refer somebody's largest financial transaction if they don't know you're good at what you do. So you need to double down on the listing marketing, your success marketing, anything that you're doing to get a deal. I just listed it. And here's the funny part. If you promote that you just listed a property, and then you promote that you just got a property in escrow, and then you promote you just got a property sold, I want you to be honest. Do some people think you're talking about a different property every single time? If you promote that you just listed a property, and then a week later you promote that you just got a property in escrow, and then 3 weeks later you promote that you just closed a property, do some people think you're talking about a different property every time?
Oh, yes.
Yes, they do. So now what do they think? Jesus, criminy, Abigail's got 3 deals. She's always got deals going on. Every time I hear from her, she's either listing a property, putting a property in escrow, or she's the boss. That's how you get more business. Double down on the listing marketing. I wrote down here, double down on phone numbers and the dialer. Don't cut the phone numbers in the dialer. I'm looking at profit and loss. Well, Robert, I'm playing Red X. I'm paying Arch. Should I keep doing the phone number? Should I keep doing the dialer? Yes, double down on it because there's less transactions expected this year, which means in order to get more transactions, what do we have to do?
Talk to more people.
We have to talk to more people.
Prospect more, yeah.
Yeah. Basic math. Let's do basic math here. If I did this many deals in 2021, and I do the same level of contacts this year, will I do more deals or less? Less, because there's less transactions available. So if I did 10 transactions in 2021 and I made 1,000 contacts, well, in 2022, there's going to be less transactions. So basic math tells me if I make 1,000 contacts, I will do less transactions. So you need to increase the contacts. You need to increase the efficiency. Don't cut the phone numbers in the dialer. Double down on it. I wrote down here the opposite of what I told you to cut earlier. I told you to cut prospecting sources with low return. Double down on prospecting sources with high return. Well, I get a high return on my database. Great. Call them more. Email them more. Do pop buys more. I get a great return on for sale by owners. Great. Find more. Expand your search area to go get more. Whatever your high sources of prospecting are, double down on them. Do more contacts. Do more stuff. Because again, this is not a market where you just try stuff. You have to go to what's tried and true, and a prospecting source with a high return. Go after those. Here's something that people almost cut instantly, and I'm going to try to convince you to double down on it. Staffing and support. staffing and support. Naturally, when things change, people cut staffing and support. Why would I tell you that you need to double down on staffing and support, or at least not cut staffing and support? Why would I tell you not to do that? Why would I tell you to keep it? Why do you think? Anybody want to take a guess? Because you need more time to prospect. We just said that you need to make more contacts to get the same amount of business you did last year. And if you want to do more, you have to do even more contacts. Well, if you cut staffing and support, can you do more contacts? Everybody's saying no. So if you have an assistant, don't cut the assistant. Okay. Don't cut the transaction coordinator. Well, Robert, it's $295 per closing. Pay it. Give them $395 so they work on your file first. Don't do that in-house. I don't know if we want to do that. I might have just caused a problem. Right? I got my escrow team. I got my mortgage people. Get them involved. Get them involved. Get everybody involved. Get the staff. Don't cut the staffing and the support. Okay? Well, I don't know. My escrow officer, they're great, but they're kind of expensive. So what? You need more time to prospect. You need more time to go on appointments. You need more time to show property. You can't cut the staffing and support because that'll take you that. Well, I'm paying my marketing person. They do a phenomenal job, but I'm paying them $150 a month. Okay, pay it. Because I don't want you spending time figuring out the marketing. You have to go talk to more people. Don't cut the staffing and support. That's a biggie. Most people, that's the first thing they cut in changing markets, staffing and support. I'm telling you, don't do that. It's gonna factor into your prospecting. You don't want to do that. Pay it. Pay it. All right, a couple more things here on double down on, right? You have to double down. If you have a farm area that you've been working, double down on the farm area marketing. If you have a farm area that you're working, double down on the farm area marketing. Do more flyers, do more door knocking, do more pop buys, do more emails, get more phone numbers. Okay. Here's why. This goes to the opportunity. There's going to be less people working farm areas. So if you double down, you can gain some market share in your farm area. Less agents working, so you can double down on your farm area marketing and gain more market share in your farm. Now, to Abigail's point earlier, a farm, if you don't know this, takes time to get business. So if you're just kind of, not really going all in on a farm area, you're never going to get a deal. But if you have a farm area, double down on the marketing. Get some market share right now. And the last couple points here is we're at 1 o'clock. I wrote down here, double down on your customer service. Whatever level of customer service you're doing, double it. Well, I call when a deal closes, I call them 3 days afterwards, 3 weeks, and then once every 3 months. The deal closes, call them 3 days afterwards, and then call them a week after that, and then call them every month after that. Ask more questions, double down on the customer service. Again, you have to look at taking a listing and leveraging it for another deal. You have to look at your servicing, all these things that are going to help you generate more business in a changing market and develop more market share. So take a look at your customer service and figure out, what can I add? What can I do more of? Well, Robert, I call my seller like once every 3 days, call them once every 2 days, call them once a day, send them a text message, just giving them an update. Okay. Be that agent, be the customer service agent. Questions on any of the things I mentioned on doubling down, or at least not cutting? Questions on anything that we went over? No? Okay.
I have a question on going back to professional pictures. When there's a house that's kind of a fixer-upper, do you still take a professional pictures as far as like taking someone that's, even though it needs a lot of work, or what would you recommend on that?
Well, if it's a total, if they're going to tear it down, if it's a tear down, then no, because the pictures aren't going to do anything. If it's a fixer, I would still take the professional photos, for the simple fact that I'm going to at least get people engaged because they might not think they have to spend as much money. So if it's a tear down, don't worry about the professional. This is a great question. If it's a tear down, don't worry about it because you just put in the notes, this is a tear down. So I don't really need the professional photos. You're going to tear it down anyways. But let's say it's a property that needs a lot of work. I would still take the professional photos because it already needs a lot of work. And then if I take iPhone photos, now a buyer thinks it's going to need even more work. And so now I've got a buyer that's willing to do this much work, but now it looks like this much and they're, nah, forget it, I'm over it. And when you're doing a fixer, you need to get every buyer as possible in there. So I would still have the professional photos taken and then just let people know it's going to need some work, but at least the pictures give a buyer hope that there's a possibility they can do this. Great question. Great question. Other questions? Anything on this topic? Okay. All right. Was there anything of value? Okay, good. Just want to make sure I got one person. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right. That is all I got for that particular source. So take a look